All right, so I would like to call to order the June meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And once again, per executive order of the governor, we are having the meeting online instead of in person. So we are missing Les Coyne, who is out of town, but we do have a quorum. Today we have 3 of 4 members, and we have our new member, Ellen Rodkey. Ellen, you want to introduce yourself for a second there?
Sure. Hi, Ellen Rodkey, and I'm excited to be here for my first meeting at the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. Looking forward to contributing in this way.
All right, great. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right, and could we start with the roll call, please, Kim?
Yes. Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Great, and thanks to Kim, we've all had the packet of everything that we needed background-wise for this meeting since last Friday. So we usually start with the consent calendar, which is the minutes, claims submitted from the last month, approval of non-reverting budget items, business report, and yeah, that's all, no surplus this time. So Israel, would you like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion.
Okay. And Ellen, could you provide a second?
Yeah, second.
All those in favor of the consent calendar, please say aye.
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 Right, motion carried. And on to part B is where we have a couple of awards and staff introductions and public comment. So this is the place where I'd just like to gauge if we have any public comment. I guess if you can, what's the best way to do that, Andrew? Have people.
So if you're interested in making a public comment, if you would just use the raise hand function in Zoom, or you can send me, the meeting host, a message in chat saying that you'd like to speak, and we'll give you a few seconds to do so.
Okay, great, thank you.
So far, I don't see anyone taking us up on the offer.
Okay. All right, well, in that case. Okay.
We do have one.
Okay.
We have a Nathan Muchler who'd like to make a comment.
Okay, go right ahead, Nathan. We were asking people to be limited to 2 minutes, and if you could just restate your name again right before you start. Thank you.
Nathan, you should be unmuted now. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is Nathan Muchler, a Bloomington resident. I am at this meeting because I was also at the meeting of the advisory council after the anywhere from disastrous to offensive statement went out from the big group. And so I'm continuing to educate myself on the history of our farmers market, and also to work to make it a place that is just and equitable. To that end, I really need to encourage the city to continue to actively wind down their direct management in a way that supports the vendors and ensures the continuity of programs to maintain low-cost venues, increase access for low-income, senior, and people of color to the market products. I think that there are things that happen like the coupons and being able to accept SNAP and EBT that the city can support, but it also needs to do that in a way that makes it a safe space to access for people like myself and many others who do not feel comfortable when there are white supremacists present. Thank you, and I appreciate your time and letting me speak.
Thank you for your comment, Nathan. Do we have any other?
I see no others, Kathleen.
Okay, I just in response to what Nathan raised, and also the statement in the meeting from last week, I would just say that I have a very wise friend who says it's not necessarily what happens to you, it's what you do with it afterwards. And I think that last week's meeting and last 2 weeks ago's statement is provided a good opportunity for us to have some conversations that we really needed to have. So I appreciate Nathan's comment on that. So we will move on next to a couple of intern introductions. Ashley Mull, do we have Ashley out there in the ether somewhere?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I go to Hanover College and I'm majoring in political science and minoring in history and environmental studies. And so I thought an internship with the Parks Department would be absolutely perfect, as I'm planning on going into working with both environmental law and the government. So I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity. And I'm working with Marcia and the farmers market. And then I'm also working with Rebecca in the Natural Resources Department and Sarah in the community gardens.
Okay, well, that sounds like a really good fit. So welcome, Ashley. I hope you enjoy your internship.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome, Ashley.
Yeah,
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, and we have another intern. Do we have Aaron Clark?
Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron Clark. I'm currently a rising second-year Master of Public Health student here in Bloomington at IU. My studies concentrate in public health administration and physical activity. And for my internship, I'll be working mainly with Jess Klein in the Parks and Rec Department. And we'll be assisting with the transition to online work with the Get On Board Active Living, better known as GOAL program. So like with virtual event programming, creating training videos to replace in-person activities. So I've been in Bloomington for 7 years. I was here for my undergrad and a little bit of time before I started my master's. So I've been very fortunate to take advantage of the wonderful facilities that the Parks and Rec Department has to offer, from Twin Lakes to the Beeline Trail. So this internship will really help me apply concepts I've learned from my education to like a real life work setting and help me gain some important practical experience with program management. So I really do thank you guys for this opportunity.
Great, thank you, and welcome, Aaron, and hopefully one day we'll actually get to meet you and Ashley in person.
Welcome, Aaron.
Yeah, welcome, Aaron. I was a MPH student myself at School of Public Health, so best of luck with everything.
Okay, all right. So then we will move into section C, our other business, where we usually have some partnership agreements and contracts need to be taken care of for the month. And the first one is, I believe it's the Troyer Group, review a contract regarding a master plan for the department, and Paula is going to tell us about that one.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Paula McDevitt, Director of the Parks and Recreation Department, and just coming live on the video is our consultant, Jonathan Gills, who I will yield some time to after I give a brief overview of the plan here. Staff is recommending approval of the contract with Troyer Group, Inc. to provide the master plan consulting services for the department. We are ready for our next master plan. I can tell you my 32 years with the department, we have always had a 5-year master plan, and even before that. And it's a process that the department goes through, traditionally hiring consultants to come in and help us with this process. We like to describe it as the roadmap for the next 5 years, so that we are making informed decisions supported by data and community input, and also information that our consultants are able to provide us from departments not only statewide but across the country. Our 5-year master plan process has been followed for all of these years and is vital to our NRPA CAPRA accreditation process. So in order to be accredited, you must have a master plan in place. And as you all know we've been accredited since 2001, and we will be going through reaccreditation a year from now. So it's time to update our master plan. And in addition, the Indiana Department of Natural Resources also requires that the Parks Department have a 5-year master plan to be ready to apply for grant funds. And that it's critical for both of these entities that we have our master plan updated. The process that we follow to hire a consultant is putting out a request for information, which I did earlier this year, and then COVID hit and put the whole project on hold. But fortunately, we were able to interview 2 consulting firms last week. The interviews were conducted by our advisory team, which is Dave Williams, our operations division director, John Turnbull, sports division director, Becky Higgins, our recreation division director, Kim Clapp, our office manager, and Julie Ramey, community relations manager. It was a thorough interview process and then a follow-up phone call where I was able to dive in deeper into the areas that we must have in our master plan. And just briefly, and then I'll turn it over to Jonathan for the contract price of $72,500, of which is budgeted in our general fund budget, and some of it out of our non-reverting. The Troyer Group proposes to review all of our past plans, which is important, and do an assessment of our facilities and all of our programs. They will be doing a thorough needs assessment, which is critical that we reach out to our community to get feedback on what we are doing well, what we could improve on, and where our community would like to see us head in the next 5 years. There'll be an analysis on our maintenance practices, recreation, and also administratively how we are delivering services. And in addition, we will get a takeaway product at the very end of our master plan, which we're most excited about, and that is the strategic action plan. So in essence, what is in our master plan will be then put into a strategic action plan for all of the things we must accomplish in the next 5 years, short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. So it's really, as I said, setting us up for the next 5 years. It'll be a tool that we will reflect from other city plans, the comprehensive plan, the transportation plan, and we'll use it as a scorecard to our community on an annual basis, bringing it to the board to update you all on how well we are progressing through our 5-year plan. So with that having said, I would like to introduce Jonathan, who has got his video live, and he'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you all for having me this afternoon. I really appreciate your time today. I shared a slide earlier, so I hope that you all can see that. It briefly talks about 3 things. One, who we are as the Troyer Group. We were founded in 1971. So almost 50 years history building on primarily public sector work. Our team has extensive experience. All of our project managers that will be involved in this project have over 15 years experience doing these types of plans. We've done 20 park and park system master plans of the last 3 years. So a lot of experience guiding park systems through this process, both park systems that are about your size and park systems both smaller and larger. And then from me, who you see is who you get. I'm going to be involved throughout the whole process. I'm a principal at Troyer Group. My focus has largely been on public sector projects, park systems. Throughout our history and throughout this conversation, we've talked a lot about the priorities of sustainability and resilience, but certainly making sure that we have best practice public engagement model for this. And that's something that we pride ourselves on quite a bit, that not only do we implement traditional models better, but we do emerging models really well. We go around the US and teach that. So I feel pretty strongly about the process to engage the community. Another big priority with both our firm and this process is that it's a data-driven approach. We need to know where we've come from and build on what the priorities are of the community. It's a community-driven plan, so we want to use that data then to influence the direction for the next 5 years. As Paula said, our project scope is pretty much in line with what the national and state requirements are for these types of plans. Fundamentally, you need to have an actionable document. At the end of this, it's not just about applying for the grants, but it's about guiding the day-to-day actions of the department. And that's an important distinction to make. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. That I appreciate that overview, and then Paula's explanation of why we need the master plan and how we've always had it to drive future decision making. So, do we have any questions or comments from Ellen or Israel?
I just want to acknowledge how I understand the timeline has probably been pushed, and so I am just grateful that we're able to still get this done in a reasonable time frame and under the current circumstances. So thank you for making sure we can meet that deadline.
Okay, thank you. And Israel, any questions or comments?
Right. Regarding the first, thank you, Paula and Jonathan for the presentation. Regarding the engagement, the public engagement, you mentioned, or it has been laid out the potential activities with the community. Any idea, since this is very short, that has been planned for fall?
So just if you could state again, any idea on how we're going to implement the public engagement?
Right. You have for public participation, opportunities include 2 pop-up meetings at community events that use low friction engagement tactics. So have you?
So we've got a couple of different strategies that we have to employ to meet the requirements. First, holding the public meetings, we still have to do that in person. That being said, we use an online whiteboard platform called Miro. It allows people to engage both in our presentation, what we're trying to achieve. It's generally a brief overview of the whole process. And then it allows people to participate in our activities that we would have hosted in the room at the same time. And I'm happy to share the link to what we had shared with the project team. But on top of that, what I think is particularly important through our process is the whole mindset of meeting people where they are. That we understand that there's a certain amount of people that have access to phones and have access to the internet that's may or may not be likely to show up to a public meeting. So we want to make sure that we're engaging those groups. We also want to make sure that we engage the groups that aren't comfortable doing either. So we proposed a couple of pop-up engagements to make sure that we can get out into the community in their spaces so that we have an opportunity to get as much feedback from all participants as we possibly can. And
Okay.
that, if you've seen our proposal, we spell that out quite a bit more detail.
And I'll jump in here too, pending this approval. And you're quite right, the timeline is quite tight, and Jonathan and I and the team will be working on that timeline and getting that out and getting these events and opportunities out to the community as soon as possible. So even before the fall, we're going to jump right on and get in working on this.
Yeah, I mean, really, in order for us to get the draft together for the IDNR, we have to start on that engagement concurrent to some of our initial investigation. So much sooner than the fall. We have to be able to put out the survey pretty shortly, or pretty soon here in the near future, in order for us to get enough feedback to make it statistically valid.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. And I think we appreciate the focus on, as you said, kind of meeting people where they are. So yes, Israel, did you have an?
Yeah, no, my last question would be regarding that survey. So that would be one way to assess the community needs.
Yep. The survey is one, we want to make sure it's consistent with what has been put out in the past. So we want to be able to track that data over a longer period of time, but also we want to make sure that it reaches as many different people with more contemporary issues. So we work with the park staff pretty thoroughly to address all of the types of questions that we would put out. And then we want to make sure that it's multilingual so that we're reaching lots of different facets of the community that way. But it's really, the survey is just one part of our overall engagement process with the public.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Jonathan. We look forward to hearing the results of the assessment and the survey and all the future information. So if we don't have any other questions, do we have a motion to approve the contract with the Troyer Group?
Yeah, a motion to approve the contract with the Troyer Group.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion. Okay, sorry, motion carried. All right, sorry, I've got a little technical glitch on my end. All right, thank you, Paula and Jonathan. And next up, Eric Pearson is going to tell us about the partnership agreement with the Boys and Girls Club.
Hi there, Eric Pearson, Program Facility Coordinator at the Banneker Community Center. Staff recommends the approval of a partnership agreement with Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington to support meal distribution efforts for low-income families this summer. Obviously, due to COVID-19, a lot of our summer programs across the community have been impacted and changed. I know for us, we have focused on a meal delivery service, and Boys and Girls Club has been doing a pod model at the Ferguson Crestmont unit. I think they're in their third week. And just prior to that, they were organizing a donation food drive where they would collect and receive foods on Tuesdays and Thursdays and distribute them throughout the community on Fridays. Given that they were switching to a pod model at that Ferguson Crestmont unit, they needed to find a new home for their donation food drive. They contacted us and we worked out a partnership agreement in front of you today that would have allowed them to continue that program by having some working space at our facility at Banneker on the 3rd floor. Given the timing of this, they've been at it, and it's been a wonderful partnership, and we look forward to doing more with them, and this being a step in the right direction towards more thorough involvement. But that's the partnership agreement in front of you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Yes. Someone else? No. Okay. First, yeah, I know that the summer meal programs have been really successful and really important. And as you say, in the middle of COVID, perhaps even more so for some families. So, and hats off for having Banneker in the background there. It's pretty clever. So Israel or Ellen, do you have any questions or comments?
No, this is very, very important and essential. So I consider very, very relevant.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you for taking this on. Boys and Girls Club's definitely done a good job so far with reacting, and Banneker has too. So glad we can work together on this.
Okay, great. And do we have a motion to approve the partnership agreement with Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Great. And all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Right. Motion unanimously carried. All right. And then Eric is also going to tell us about the review of the appointment to BCCAC.
Yeah, we're here to recommend Nichelle Whitney to join the Banneker Community Center Advisory Council. Nichelle has been a 9-year Bloomington resident. She currently is the chair of the Monroe County Women's Commission and also is an admissions director at IU, focusing on diverse applications and things of that nature. She's also connected in the community and works with several other organizations outside of those. We've worked with her at Banneker and with different events that we've had in the past. And we look forward to her approval and joining this group. I think she brings a wealth of experience and a perspective that will really benefit our team moving forward. So happy to answer questions about Nichelle.
Okay. Yes. Judging from her application, she seemed like a perfect fit for Banneker. So yeah, just a lot of great community experience. And she's already been volunteering, you said, for?
Yeah, she has been. We're actually working on a couple of different projects related to the Nutrition Hub grant that we received in May, but she's also helped with our Thanksgiving events and a couple of others as well. So she's been well traversed at Banneker. She's actually come into the facility on her own as a resident as well. So she's very familiar with what we do.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments from Ellen and Israel?
No, that's wonderful. I read her application. Looks great.
Right. One question, Eric. So how many members do we have in this advisory council?
With her appointment, we would have 13. The goal of our council is a little different than others. We have a minimum of 12. So we're constantly taking applications. And we obviously want to have a very diverse group that can provide different perspectives and not just help us with policy decisions as well, but help us inform our decision making through their experiences as well in Bloomington. And so that's why when people like Nichelle are interested, we will definitely speak with them and engage with them and see what we can do, because I think you never want to turn away people that might be able to help your organization have that perspective, especially during the current situation. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. So do we have a motion to approve Nichelle's appointment to the Banneker Council?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Eric. All right. And then Marcia is going to tell us about two small changes to the standing farmers market contract that are, again, in light of COVID events.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, this is Marcia Bellman, the Farmers Market Coordinator, and bringing forward, seeking your approval for the second addenda to the Farmers Market contract. It's essentially the same one that you approved in April, and it just basically allows for greater flexibility as the market adapts to the COVID-19 situation. There's a version for the farmers, the food and beverage artisans, and the food truck vendors. And the farm vendor one does suspend the point system, and it also allows for stand assistance to sell at the market as opposed to a vendor directly. And the reason for both of those is we, don't want to do anything that makes a vendor feel like they need to be there if they don't feel like the situation is either safe for them or they don't feel well. So yeah, I am seeking your approval for the addenda.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that from Ellen or Israel? No? Oh,
No comment.
No? Okay. All right. All right. So then we have a motion to approve the addendum to the farmers market contracts.
Motion to approve.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion's carried. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Marcia.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marsha.
And then moving on, we have another partnership agreement with the Monroe County History Center. Crystal Ritter.
Hi, Crystal Ritter, Community Events Coordinator. I am here today to recommend the approval of the partnership agreement with the Monroe County History Center to provide programming and volunteer support for our dearly departed cemetery tours at Rose Hill Cemetery for this fall. They are scheduled to take place on October 17th or October 16th and 17th this year. With this partnership, the Monroe County History Center works with us to recruit volunteers to play reenactors for the tours, where they reenact some of the stories from the lives of some of the people who are buried at Rose Hill Cemetery. The History Center also provides other programming aspects and some history for the tour guides to use as they lead the tours. The Parks Department provides registration management and also the logistics and supplies for setup and tear down of the tours on site. This has been a great partnership. It's our third year doing these tours. They continue to be extremely popular. And this partnership agreement does include a 50-50 revenue split with the History Center. And we just love working with them and would like to continue to. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Crystal. Any questions or comments from Ellen or Israel about the dearly departed tours?
Thank you, Crystal. No question on my side.
No questions for me either, Crystal. Sounds great.
Yeah, I've always liked the name too.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So if we have a motion to approve the partnership agreement with Monroe County History Center.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All right. And are there any public comments about this agreement? Okay. This is so much harder than in person, where I can say seeing none and actually see out into the city hall. Okay. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion carried. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Okay. And next up is the review of a cooperative monument agreement with Artisan Alley. And I will tell you that I had to frantically consult with the local teenage nerd in my house to get some information about this. Isn't this the captain from Star Trek that we're about to hear about? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Dave.
Well, it's actually Sean Starwood's handling the staff report. This is one of those collaborative projects.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sean Starwood's Assistant Director for the Arts for the City of Bloomington. I've worked out with, this is a negotiation between the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department, the city's Economic and Sustainable Development Department, Artisan Alley, and the collaborative group known as the Captain Janeway Collective. So this is a various kind of typical agreement that we do for public art projects that are kind of either publicly or privately raised and then kind of deeded over to the city. So we have, certain things that the Parks Department and myself will be coordinating, and then the Captain Janeway Collective alongside Artisan Alley will be responsible for the maintenance endowment and any kind of installment issues. It's going on the Beeline down by Wonder Lab, and this was decided by the group and in partnership with Wonder Lab. Captain Janeway is seen as a radical reinvestment of women-led, character on Star Trek, and has proven to be an inspiration for STEM programs and a variety of those things. Oh, perfect. Paula's sharing the screen, which is amazing. Thank you, Paula. And so this is the design, and I believe that Artisan Alley and Peter from the Captain Janeway Collective are here, and they are probably better suited to answer specific questions on the behalf of the commissioners. And I'm also happy to ask any questions on the art side of things. So thank you all so much, and I'll yield the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Peter, is there a little more background you want to tell us? I understand you might be born here in the future, Captain Janeway.
I can give you some background on the project, and Adam Nahas of Artisan Alley is here, and he can provide all the technical details about how this thing is being installed and things like that you might want to know. I mean, the short version of the project is the character of Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager will be born in Bloomington, Indiana on May 20th, 2336. It's mentioned in the show, and it's greatly detailed in some of the novels. And we decided to do this not only because we're big Star Trek fans, but as Sean was saying, Captain Janeway was a role model and an inspiration to a generation of young women. And that's really been the driving force of why we're doing this. She was a scientist, and being next to Wonder Lab, where young people are going to learn about her future legacy and all the people who are inspired by her, we thought was a great idea. Worked with Sean. He's been great. And we pushed it forward, and we're at this point where we're hoping to get this final approval. And as I said, Adam Nahas is here, and if you want to know more about how it's being installed and built and all those important details, he's the one to provide them for you.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you guys can see me.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hi, I'm Adam Nahas with Artisan Alley. We are the fiscal sponsor for the Janeway Group. We've helped with fundraising, technical details. We were working with a number of local contractors to make sure that this piece happens. We were on schedule to have it done at the latter part of May. Obviously, the COVID pandemic has moved things around a little bit. We now have everything set for the end of October. Actually, today we were at the foundry that cast the piece, and we have just finalized the patina, where now it will be brought. It is actually here back in Bloomington at our tool library, Burl and Ingot, where a few details will get added, some polishing, and then it will go back out to Spencer to be attached to the limestone base. And then later on, just a week or two before the installation, we will attach the information table as well as the aluminum plate to the front.
Interest other people. You know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I saw some really interesting pictures on the website for this, and the Wonder Lab. Really ideal. So, and I'll just note for people who might be wondering, Parks has procedures in place for people who would like to put a monument on Parks property. So everything is sort of detailed about the size and design of that, and Parks' responsibility in terms of keeping trash and graffiti away and things like that. So it's kind of an all-around good partnership arrangement there. So yeah, I will confess I'm not a Trekkie, but that seems really cool. So do we have any questions from Paula, or sorry, Israel or Ellen?
Excellent work. No question.
Okay, and if we have Ellen, I know she was gonna plug in her computer. She needed to get a charger.
Thanks.
Okay.
Losing battery faster than anticipated. No, I have no comments. I've read about this project for a while now and just following along, and excited to see it come to fruition.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you guys for telling us the background on this, and we'll look forward to seeing it in person in October, you said, right? Is that right?
Yes, yeah, October 24th.
Okay. All right. Great. And do we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. And any public comments or questions about the cooperative monument agreement with Artisan Alley?
I see none at this time, but just a reminder that if you'd like to make a comment, to use the raise hand function, or to send Andrew Krebs, the host, a message in chat, and we'll get you on the list. Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you, Andrew. I unfortunately overlooked that a little earlier on. So, all right, all those in favor of the cooperative monument agreement with Artisan Alley, please say aye.
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 All right, motion unanimously carried. All right, thank you guys. And we will move on to a parking space lease agreement with Switchyard Apartments, which might be Dave Williams or might be someone else.
It is Dave Williams.
It is Dave Williams. Okay.
Yes, and welcome, Ellen, to the board. I think most of you are familiar with the construction of the affordable apartment complex, Switchyard Apartments, at the southwest corner of kind of the Switchyard Park complex. We worked out a renewable or a lease agreement, long-term lease agreement, 99 years, I believe it was, with the South Central Indiana Housing Opportunities Organization for that construction. Deborah Meyerson is the executive director, can speak to some of the budget issues, but essentially Deborah approached Paula and myself requesting consideration of parking in the main Switchyard Park Rogers Street area in lieu of the fact that their budget and their financing did not allow them the opportunity to build the number of parking spaces, one for each tenant on site. So we've worked with Daniel Dixon, who I also believe is attending today's meeting, to create an agreement, a lease agreement that would allow SCIHO the use of 5 spaces in the Switchyard Park property, Rogers Street parking lot. I want to go through just, I think, the highlights of the lease agreement, and then we're happy to answer any questions. The entire program would be overseen by Deborah Meyerson and her agency. Parks would not be responsible for distributing, manufacturing, charging, issuing violations for the permits. It was entirely done by SCIHO. There would be 5 spaces in Switchyard Park at Rogers Street designated, not designated, but we would allow 5 spaces to be used by tenants of the apartment complex. No guaranteed spaces, no signed spaces, no reserved spaces, whatever you can find. And on some days that may be difficult when we're hosting special events, and that's acknowledged by Deborah and her agency. Again, they'll manufacture all the permit tags, make sure they're distributed to the tenants who want them. We will not allow vehicles with expired permits, abandoned vehicles, guest vehicles without a permit. All of the above may be subject to towing after park closure hours at 11 p.m. 1 parking permit per issued tenant is allowed. There shall not be duplicates or guest passes for other tenants or their guests. Inoperable vehicles that are leaking fluids will need to be removed within 5 days from our parking lots, and only emergency vehicle repairs will be allowed on our property. Motorcycles and cars are eligible for permit parking, but trailers, motorhomes, buses, etc. are not eligible. This program would go into effect, we assume, immediately upon occupancy, full occupancy of the apartment complex. And with that, I'll defer to Deborah if she would like to offer any information, and we're both happy to answer any questions.
I appreciate that, Dave. Just want to thank the Parks Department and the Board of Parks Commissioners for considering this. It's a great way. Shared parking is a really important part of housing affordability because the cost of building paved parking is expensive, and that was one reason why we originally had sought to provide 1-to-1. So we have 8 units in this phase 1, and we sought to provide a 1-to-1 ratio. But when we had, frankly, rising construction costs, and since the city has actually a pretty progressive policy that many neighborhoods do not have a minimum parking requirement, so that wasn't a requirement for our permit to build the parking, but we obviously still need to figure out where people can park. So this shared parking arrangement is really, I think, a terrific opportunity to support the affordability of the apartments. And we, again, appreciate the opportunity to discuss this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Any questions or comments from Ellen or Israel?
So there's, for the context of it, so there are 8 apartments and there are a couple of spaces already available, and then the 5 that you're requesting, I mean, there essentially, you said there's no, you don't reserve it, there's not a sign even designating it. It basically is just those 5 permits mean that if there's cars parked after 11 p.m. at the parking lot and they have that permit, they won't be towed. Is that?
That is correct.
Okay.
There are 2 accessible spaces on site at the apartment complex. This would be 5 additional spaces. And again, it's entirely possible that they may be parking the Grimes parking lot or the Walnut Street entrance based on availability. Again, there are no reserved assigned spaces.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, and Israel, any comments or questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I'd just like to take the opportunity to congratulate Deborah on the project. As we are now neighbors, it's a beautiful site, and to have been part of the process since day one and finding that spot for them, it's really neat to pull into our parking lot and to see her building up. So welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
All right, great. So, all right, do we have a motion to approve the parking space lease agreement with Switchyard Apartments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, any public comments or questions about this agreement?
I see none, but just a reminder to use the raise hand function or send a chat if you would like to speak.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. Thank you, Deborah and Dave. And Dave is also going to tell us about an addendum to the MOU Miller Showers Park sidewalk construction.
Yes, Kathleen and Israel will recall at our April 28th meeting, but for the benefit of Ellen, our new member, there is a large-scale development project being proposed on North Walnut Street, directly across from the northern tip of Miller Showers Park. As is the case for all development projects, you have to maintain or provide a means of public, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic moving alongside your property. In this case, the east side of North Walnut Street requires a new sidewalk and a new water line. So Collegiate Development approached our department requesting consideration for a sidewalk to be built in the northernmost portion of Miller Showers Park. And for some context, this is not the area of the park that has the statuary and the loop trail. This is a landscape only to date, non-public accessible area. They requested consideration of constructing a sidewalk in this northern section of Miller Showers that would allow the public to cross over Walnut to our property, go the length of their development, and then cross over Walnut and back, and then continue on existing sidewalks. There was an initial concern because the department has a bond-funded project, a gateway. There are several gateways to Bloomington that are funded, and we are in concepts stage for most of those locations. But one of the locations that we're certain will proceed forward is the northern tip of Miller Showers Park. So we wanted to make sure that the sidewalk connection that would serve the need of the development would also be a permanent fixture in compliance with our design creation for that facility. So try to cut to the chase on this. We have approved an MOU with Collegiate Development for them to provide survey data our consultant to design the permanent sidewalk that will be a feature in the gateway design that Rundell Ernstberger will do. And it would remain in place. And both parties were agreeable. The board approved it in the end of April. Since that time, Collegiate Development has requested an addendum to this MOU that would allow them to consider the possible assignment, transfer, or sale of their development rights, their project, to other developers. And we've worked with Daniel Dixon to create an MOU. It's acceptable to Collegiate Development, and we're requesting your approval to allow this one change to the MOU, the possible assignment or sale to another party who would have the same requirements as Collegiate Development has today for this project. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dave, especially for that background, even for those of us who were at the April meeting, just be good to be reminded. So any questions or comments from Ellen or Israel?
No comment.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then we have a motion to approve the addendum to the MOU with Miller Showers Park sidewalk construction.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, and Andrew, do we have any public comments on this one out there?
At this time, I see none.
Okay, all right, then all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
next up, their Bluestone Tree, a review of a contract with Bluestone Tree Removal, since tree removal seems to be all seasons. Erin Hatch.
Hi, yes. So I have two separate contracts that I'll be talking about. I'm going to start with a Bluestone Tree Removal, a request to contract with Bluestone for an ash tree removal in Winslow Woods Park, in the sports complex, I mean. And this is adjacent to private property and threatens falling on private property and damage private property. The size and location requires that a contractor be used for the removal.
Okay, and I'm just wondering, did the owners of the private property express concerns about the location of the tree? Okay. All right. And do you want to go ahead and tell us about, is there a second, are we voting on these in together, or you can go ahead and tell us about the second one if you want.
The second one is also a tree removal for a street tree adjacent to 1103 North Ulitic Drive. It's located within the public right-of-way, so it's a city-maintained tree. Again, it's a dying tree that threatens people and property if it were to fail.
Okay. And you mentioned hiring outside. I know sometimes the Parks Department does its own tree removal, but when it's a particularly difficult job, right, and especially the height of some of the trees, that's not something the department can do.
In the case of the second one, it's about a 3-foot diameter tree. So it's a little too large for our in-house crews to do.
Okay. All right, thanks. Any questions or comments from Ellen or Israel?
No comment. Thank you.
No comment.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve contract with Bluestone Tree Removal?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Right, and any public comments on this item C9?
I see none at this time.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. And then lastly, under our other business, we have Leslie Brenson to tell us about a review of contract addendum with Izzy's.
Hello, Leslie Brinson, Community Events Manager. I'm asking approval today for a contract with Izzy's Rentals for hand washing stations that we are providing at the farmers market. With COVID and working through the health department, it was suggested that we provide 2 hand washing stations at the market. We've been working with Izzy's since we opened the market here at Showers. They deliver 2 hand washing stations each Saturday morning, fully stocked with soap and water and paper towels, and then they pick them up at the end of the day at the end of the market end of the market day. We are assuming we will need these through the majority of the market season, which is why the amount is fairly high, so that we can get through several months of this delivery without having to come back to you with an additional amount. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We've worked with Izzy's before. We have current contracts with them for porta potties, but because this one was specific to hand washing stations, we went ahead and did a separate contract.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Leslie. And I guess I'm just wondering if there was any conversation about having hand washing stations at other, as we start to get opening up more at other events that draw large crowds from parks.
There has been some discussion. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We haven't had an event of that size, and it will depend on if there are restrooms close by. We certainly have had hand sanitizer available at any event we have had. But we haven't reached a point where we need hand washing stations, but certainly as we look at opening up and depending on how big events are, it could be something that we address moving forward, but not currently at the moment.
Okay, all right, thank you. And any questions from Israel or Ellen?
No comment.
I mean, definitely not coming.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we've had good experience with Izzy's in the past, so we have a motion to approve the contract addendum with Izzy's.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and any public comments or questions on this one?
I see none at this time.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion, did we get everybody in there? I think. Motion carried. All right, and we have no particular reports from different divisions this evening. Paula, turn it back over to you for any announcements or anything else that you want to add.
Well, thank you all again for participating via Zoom. And Ellen, welcome. It's great to have you on board. And I would just like to also thank the community for bearing with us as we've managed through COVID. I know there's been a lot of disappointment on events that we've had to cancel and traditional events that not only our staff enjoy producing, but our community enjoys attending. But we are working hard to get back on track in a safe manner. So you will see throughout our park system several yard signs that are reminding folks of precautions to take while they were out using our parks and in our playgrounds and that. And again, we are already planning for the fall, but really keeping public safety as number one as we make our decisions and move through these very unpredictable times. And our next park board meeting is July 28th.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And our meeting is adjourned.